All right, peace, y'all. Another video for y'all. On the video, this one's on using effects and how I like to use the effects while I'm sampling, while my sample is coming in. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. I have a sample right here. I played it before. I have a sample right here. Now, that sample sounds good. The bass sounds good on it, but I might not want that much bass in it, because I have the bass and I have the drums. I don't need all that bass in that sample. So here's what I'm going to do when you want to use effects on samples coming into the machine. And anything coming in will get affected by this. I'm going to hit effects. I'm going to switch this routing right here off to input, so now anything coming in to the sampler will be affected by whatever is in this MFX right here. So right now it's on the isolator and filter, and this is a great filter in here. So what I'm going to do is play the sample, and this is what you do. You get your input set up. You get whatever effect that you want to use on the sample, and first you need to know what you want to do with the sample. Me, I want to trim some fat off of this so I can put my own bass in here. So this is what I'm going to do. I have my sample. Go back to effects. This knob, the very first knob right here, right here is the lows, the low end, the mids, and the highs. So while this sample's coming in, I'm going to trim this down and listen. That's probably cool right there, but then I'm going to turn the mids and the highs up to make it cleaner now. Now see? Now that I can work with. I can work with that now. It wasn't anything wrong with the other sample, because once you chop that up and you start to layer on top of it and layer on top of it, then you get this big sound. That's cool, but I don't want that. What I want is this. Without it. Look at that. Look how good those filters are. Wow. Wow. Okay. I can bring some, but it's all to taste. Now, I don't want it to sound too thin. Bring some back. Come out of it. That's cool. That's cool to me. So that's how I would do it. And then when it comes to sampling it, I hit sample. And you can still use your start trigger and all that stuff that you hadn't stopped trigger, just like how you would use it before when it comes to sampling and chopping. You know, stop. And now I have this, and now I can go ahead and start working with this, right? I can go ahead and start working with the sample as usual, trimming it up. Sounds good. Now I can put drums to it. Now I can chop it up. Let's go retry and go back out. So that is now. Let me go back to effects. That's not the only effect you can use. Now, all you have to do is hit library. As long as you stay on MFX, let me go back one. As long as you stay here on the MFX and you have it on input when you want to add an effect while you are sampling something in. Now you can go to library right here, and you can put any of these effects all the way down to where it starts the analog bass. This starts the synthesizer in this machine. So you can put a vocoder, 10-band vocoder on it, mic modeling, voice transformer, vocal, all these effects. Lo-fi effect, you want that 12-bit SP1200 sound on something. If you got a drum loop coming in, any of these, you can put a compressor on something. Let's put a compressor on this coming in now. Let's switch this, put a compressor on it. Now these three knobs here turn into compressor parameters: your threshold, your attack, and then your output gain. They don't have a ratio on here. So it's on input. Now let's see what this does. Sample and see what it sounds like. Let me go to effects and go ahead and start to compress, which is turning it down, right? Turn my attack up fast, and then I'm going to turn up my output gain and bring the volume back. Let's see without it. Obviously, gain output needs to be without it, with it, without it. See, so it's bringing up those those lower frequencies. So you can put a compressor on it. You can let's go back to go back to library. Let's go to something else like 80s phaser, which is cool. You can do all kind of cool effects before you print your sample to your hard drive or before you sample it and get ready to chop it. Good for doing intros or something. So good for doing intros with something like that. You can keep going. You got effects in here. You got flangers and choruses and delays and tape echoes and reverbs. So this is one way that I like to use the effects when I'm sampling, is when it's coming in, right? So let me hit sample. The other way is, like I showed you before, is after the fact, right? So let's say I'll get my sample in here. Let me sample. Hit sample. Get my sample going. I didn't do anything to it. Cool. Got my sample. And say I want to send it to a patch. I want to send it to a patch is what I want to do. Send to a patch. Top right, top left. Okay. Pattern. Go down to. Now, from here, I can go to, it's on this one, so I can go here, like I showed you before, turn this, well first, go to instruments, see where it is, which is on 1. Now I go to effects, and now you use what is called one of the auxiliaries. So what I would do is I put this on aux 1 or 2, I always use 2 for some reason, and then I would come back here to this one on output and put this on aux 2. Go back to effects and now pick an effect. Let me grab something else. Let's see, let me grab a reverb. So just say I chopped up my sample, changing the room size, changing the timing. Now I got the reverb on there. All I have to do is go sample, resample, hit start, or if you wanted to set up a start trigger, once again, because now that you have it in your beat or in your sequence, all you have to do is hit play or choose play to start it, or choose the pad that you have it on to start it. And then, of course, stop it on whatever beat that you want it to be on. You can do it that way, but I don't need to do all that. I just hit sample, resample, hit start, and then hit my pad. No, obviously I wouldn't do that. I might, if that's what I wanted, I would do this, but I wouldn't really do this, but I'm just giving you an example of what you can do. So now I resampled it with the effect on there. And the reason why is because, let's see here, let me trim this just like if I were sampling this, preview it, and then I would either add it to a patch. And then what I would do, and the reason being is I would go back to instruments and turn this off and go back to effects and turn this off, because it frees the effect up for you to use it on something else. And that's what's cool about this. It's kind of like you bouncing it down with the effect on it, but you make sure the effect is dialed in exactly how you want it to be. And then because when you commit to it, that's what you have. But I have 2 of them here. Then I have this one, so I could probably flip back and forth and do some kind of little, effect or some kind of, something, just trying to be creative with something. I got a dry one and I got a totally wet one, so I could do something. You know what I mean? So just to recap, hit effects when you want to use the effects on something coming in, and turn it to input. You can use your library and use any of these all the way down to number 25. That starts the analog bass synthesizer in this machine. So you can use any of these 24 effects, right? And resamp, and then you can continue, and you can just keep going and going and going until you get the sample exactly how you want it. So say for instance, I could sample this in, trim it, trim the fat off, resample it again with reverb on it, resample it again with, you know, this, and then once I have everything together, then I'll print it to the hard drive and then start chopping it up. You know what I mean? Just another step. You can sit on the sample screen and just get your sample exactly how you want it before you even print it for good. And then you still have other copies if you want to go back. You know what I mean? So check that out. Try that out, man. And I'll check y'all out again. Peace.